During my last year of graduate school in architecture, the urban design studio that I was a part of decided to take on a competition. We were tasked with designing an autonomous vehicle. Now, we've all heard of autonomous or self-driving cars. They have an auto mode in which they're allowed to guide themselves and to perform driving functions. You're not accelerating or necessarily turning the wheel yourself, but you're ready to take control should you need to. These are autonomous cars today, but that's not what we were tasked with designing. Let me take you 15, 20 years into the future. You step into your car, and there's no steering wheel. In fact, there's no such thing as a driver's seat. You're a passenger. We're all passengers, and your car takes you wherever you need to go, all by itself. Sounds pretty wonderful, doesn't it? Well, my team and I, we were very fast to fall in love with this idea and to fall in love with all the things that we could do inside the car while it takes us places. Having breakfast, taking a nap, watching the game, calling your mom, doing the homework we forgot was due that day. Regardless of our motivations, we were very inspired and excited. So we started researching, sketching, designing vehicles of all shapes, sizes, and colors. Of course, with all these activities in mind. We were thinking coffee makers inside the car, coffee room, conference room settings for those who wanted to work. We were thinking beds, TVs, mini bars, all sorts of things. But a few weeks into the competition, we had to take a step back. We gained some distance from the projects that we had become so attached to. And this allowed us to look at things from a different point of view. We started asking ourselves, what happens when you're not inside the car? This is when we realized the impact that autonomous cars can have in our lives. Your car can go grocery shopping for you. It could pick up your dry cleaning, take your kids to school or to that movie theater all the way across town. Autonomous vehicles can bring freedom of transportation to a whole new level. Entire groups of people, like the elderly or the disabled, will no longer be limited by their physical capabilities. People of all ages will be able to go places. Forget about being old enough to drive or studying for your test. My kids might not even know what the DMV is, if it's still around. They probably won't know how to drive, simply because they won't need to. Autonomous cars will also make our transportation system a lot more efficient because they will have the ability to communicate with each other and to sense their surroundings. Let me give you an example of why this is important. Today, we have yield signs. Not quite a stop sign, you slow down, you check if there's any vehicles coming, and if you need to, you stop or you slow your speed so that the approaching vehicle can come. You yield your right-of-way to the approaching vehicle. Well, if this was in the future and we were talking about 2 autonomous cars, the situation would go a little bit differently. Your car will let the other one know, hey, I'm coming, I'll be there in 34.7 seconds. And the approaching vehicle will take note of that and will adjust the speed, let's say 2 miles per hour, so that at the point of intersection, the vehicles don't collide. Instead, one will pass just before the other. Now imagine a street with no yield signs, no stop signs, no street lights, almost no kind of signage. Cars will know where to turn and when to do so. They will know when the road is curvy ahead. They will know the weather, speed limits, all of it. And the best part of an efficient transportation system? No traffic. So let's say today you wake up at 5:30 in the morning to get ready, get your kids ready, take them to school, and drive all the way across town to go to work, with probably 20 to 30 minutes of traffic along the way. In the future, you might be able to sleep an extra hour, get your kids ready, and send them to school safely. While your car takes care of that, you can take a shower, get dressed, and just when you're about ready, your car will be back to pick you up, and you will enjoy breakfast on your way to work. Cars will change the way that we live our lives, but that's just the start. Because while you're sipping on coffee on your way to the office, you might not recognize the streets that you're driving through, if that's the correct word. Autonomous cars will have the power to change them. autonomous cars will have the power to change the cities we live in. Think about what you see when you step outside your house. Streets, sidewalks, parking lots. We live in cities that are designed around cars, and around cars as we know them today. Having a human driver makes a difference because it introduces human error, which changes the way in which we use space. Lanes, for example, need to be a certain width to accommodate for the fact that we're not going to drive our cars perfectly straight. The lane doesn't meet the sidewalk directly. There's a certain distance in between. There are many factors that need to be taken into account so that we don't make mistakes behind the wheel, or to prevent them as much as we can and prevent accidents. But when you take the human factor out of the equation, our streets will be safer, but these spatial considerations can also go away. Lanes don't need to be as wide, which can lead to less lanes, and with an efficient transportation system, we might be able to eliminate entire streets. But let me tell you what's going to bring the biggest change. We're going to gain time and freedom in ways we only wish we had today. But we're not the only ones gaining freedom. If you think about it, your car doesn't depend on you to go places anymore. Yes, this means that it can run errands for you, but while it's not doing that, it doesn't need to wait for you. It doesn't need to stay parked, waiting for you all day at school or at work. So, will we need parking lots in the middle of downtown areas, for example? We might not need parking garages at all, except for in our homes. In case you were wondering, we didn't win the competition. We submitted maps, drawings, everything we needed to, but we didn't design a car. We focused on its impact, which actually almost got us disqualified. It was a hard fall, but it led me to sharing the story today, and it led me to open my eyes. We all need to start looking and thinking about technologies differently. We need to start seeing beyond the car. To call your smartphone a phone is to miss most of what it is, most of what it does. It's omitting how it's influenced our lives. To think that the autonomous car will be simply a car is to miss how it can change how we live our lives and where we live. Today in our world, cars demand a significant amount of space. Half of urban American cities are dedicated to the car. But what happens when all of these spaces can be reclaimed again? When the parking garage next to your office becomes a mixed-use residential and commercial building, and the street over becomes a community center or a farmer's market? When miles of asphalt and concrete become public parks, and highways, which rip through the heart of our cities today, become vibrant, strolling parks that overlook a less congested and healthier city. We will step outside of our homes and we won't see a city designed around cars. We will live in a city designed for people. Thank you.